Welcome to the Conversations Across the Grand Canyon podcast, aka The Big Gap. Here, our purpose will be to explore the impacts of social, political, and economic issues through the lens of generational and cultural differences. Good day, listeners. I'm your host of the Big Gap podcast. My name's Big Al Perry, aka the Sonic Boomer.
Okay, Boomer. Okay.
Today, as my first guest on my podcast, I'm honored to have Chief Shaun Hart, who is the EMA director of Twiggs County, Georgia, the county where I reside. He's also the fire chief. And we're going to talk today about the challenges that he faced coming from a bigger department. He was a battalion chief of the Macon-Bibb County Fire Department. And now he's transitioning over to a smaller department, a rural department here in Twiggs County. And my first question, Chief, would be coming from a big, larger county per se, and coming to a county that probably has got about 15,000 residents. What challenges have you faced transitioning from a bigger, more better equipped, better, I'm not saying better administered, but a better organizational structure? What challenges have you faced moving from that type of department to a smaller department that you now lead?
Well, I would say the main challenge for me with transitioning from a larger department to what we say is a smaller department is with the larger department, you had resource availability at your hand there. And I had a lot more time to exercise emotional labor, but thinking more with my mind to get my resources and my personnel to do the job at hand to get the task completed. But stepping into the smaller department where the personnel is not really available as the larger departments, I'm transitioning more out of emotional labor back to manual labor. And of course, I've never been afraid to do a manual labor, but making that transition back, thinking that, hey, I not only have to exercise my mind on how to do it, I got to transition myself by exercising my mind and my hands to get back into that force of getting the task done. So.
And there's a lot of budgetary challenges as well, I imagine, in a smaller county like ours here in Twiggs. When I first moved here, the department was voluntary.
Yes, voluntary.
And I didn't realize how much that affected, homeowners' insurance rates, and so it was good when we finally did. There are fire stations, of course, stationed interspersed throughout the county, but they weren't manned. So whenever a fire call went out, volunteers had to muster, get to the station, but prepare the trucks to leave out and respond to the calls. I think right after I moved here, maybe a couple of years after I moved here, right there in the city of Jeffersonville, county seat, right there on Railroad Street, the county library, it pretty much burned to the ground before an effective response could be mustered to fight the fire, right there in the city limits of Jeffersonville. And that kind of demonstrated to me the shortcomings of a volunteer fire department. I used to work down in Macon County, and they had a volunteer fire department, but they was highly efficient. They did an excellent job. They won all kinds of accolades from the state for their uh, having dedicated and properly manned volunteer department. But here in Twiggs County, I'm not saying that they were not dedicated, but they just didn't seem like there was a lot of complaints about them not being as getting to fires as quickly as they needed to. But those are the shortcomings of a volunteer fire department. But I think just before you came, I think the chief that was here before you, he started manning those stations, and after that uh, happened, or not long after that happened, uh, the next house right up the road from me, my closest neighbor, uh, had a fire, and because it was manned, uh, when my wife is the one that called that fire in, and that truck got here in 8 minutes, and it's about almost exactly 5 miles up the road. Now, 8 minutes I thought was good, a good response time, given some of the history that I've witnessed here in Twiggs County. Uh, but that was the truck. The actual sheriff's deputy arrived, and the former fire chief before you, he arrived before the truck actually got here. But to see that truck get here in 8 minutes, I thought was excellent.
And
And it would probably, if that same thing happened today, that truck would probably get here even quicker than that.
you're exactly right. And to echo on what you're saying about the volunteer world, Macon County has always stood out as being one of those premier volunteer departments that, as far as when it comes to training and response, if you wanted to model a volunteer department, you look at Macon County because they've always been top tier when it comes to the volunteer world. And Twiggs County has been my home. I love it. And I did venture out and work for a bigger department before I decided to come back home and finish out my career here. But we've always had a large number of volunteers in Twiggs. But I think when it comes to response and the response level and timing of calls, the industry that was here, most of our volunteers worked either for the mining companies, and whether it be Gordon or whether it be Macon, Dublin, or the Air Force Base. So when those volunteers or those calls did drop, if you worked out of town, you had a 35, 45 minutes response time
I see.
that
I
hurt
Mm-hmm.
our response time, like unlike Macon County, where there's a lot of industry with the poultry farms and things like that, where a lot of those people that volunteer, they're close knit and they're in the county, so that helps. They can drop it and be there with the reasonable time to help mitigate a lot of situations such as fires and accidents of that nature. And my hat goes off to our commissioners and the former fire chief for seeing the vision to bring in paid personnel because they saw the need and the foresight that, hey, a lot of our volunteers that we do have, they're great, but even though at that, when the time is needed, unfortunately, most of those was on the job, which was 35, 45 minutes away, which hurt a lot of which the ISO rating, which it was once time, it was at a 9, but I think we're currently at a 6X, so we're moving in the right direction.
Yes. Yes.
And having those paid personnel here, I've been here, like I said, about 16, 17 months, and some of the strides that we've made as far as response to emergencies, whether it be child down, difficulty breathing, heart attack, fire, just we're moving in the right direction. And hopefully the county commissioners and the people of this county can see the need for what we're doing and keep that moving forward and going.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thanks for that clarification about the volunteer personnel and the challenge that they had to respond to fires.
Yes.
Yes, they were working people. So, yeah. But uh, as you're trying to build this improve our fire rating, and we've built a new fire station, the main fire station out there on 96. We've got a new ambulance service. I think that's
Yes, you're correct. Starting January 1 of this year, working with Atrium Help, we saw the need, which this was it was the groundwork was being laid a while back, but we finally started tightening up the bolts and start putting everything together. Start January 1 of this year, we've got a full-time operating ambulance service here in Twiggs. They do what they call a 24/48 shift. When one shift comes off for 24, they're off for 48, but once they goes off, another shift replaces them. So we have three rotating shifts of ambulance crew that are here to help serve the citizens of Twiggs County.
oh, that's great to hear too. And so, like I said, I'm sure that citizens, those people that have had to use that service, or those people who have had, unfortunately, maybe had a fire at their home, or a medical emergency, these new and improved services, I'm sure the people are appreciative of it, and appreciative of the commissioners and yourself who are trying to, implement it and make it the best it can be here in Twiggs County. And so, as you, like you said, you hands on, you're trying to uh, build something that is going to be a source of pride in the community. I can already see a lot of that. I go to commission meetings, and when I do go and you're present, or there's something about uh, uh, anything to do with improving infrastructure, uh, building a new station, or uh, planning for new stations. I see all the support that you get, and and everybody wishing you the best and appreciating the good job that everybody's doing. But like I said, Twiggs County does have their budgetary limitations and issues, and we are a small county. We don't have a overly large tax base, and so the commissioners and the population in this county are real sensitive about any kind of tax increase, and I can see where that could, hamper your efforts in a little bit, and where you wish you could do a little bit more. But uh, as currently constructed, our board is they're just not ready to spend a lot of tax money on personnel, maybe equipment. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've been to a commission meeting. The commission meeting I went to today was the first one I've been to in about 3, 4 months, and so I'm not really up on what's going on out there. Uh, if the sentiment is changing, or is it still going to be a challenge for you to keep the personnel that you've got? Uh, I know some of them are funded through grants. So how are you prepared to uh, navigate what this these challenges that are in front of you right now?
Every day, we as myself, I come in and I think about personnel and the challenges that come with maintaining and keeping. And like you said, we do operate under grants, and grants have been very, very essential to us for maintaining and keeping our personnel. And recently, there have been some grant restrictions or changes in the way grants are being funded, and we're working diligently with the county commissioners and the county manager to kind of iron out the details on how we'll move forward with keeping personnel funded, whether it be through grants or Maybe taking. We have what we call stipends for volunteer personnel that respond, and unfortunately, we used to have a lot of volunteers, but a lot of those are getting older to where they don't respond like they used to, and a lot of our younger generations either they move away or they're just not interested in the firefighting role or being a volunteer because most of them, hey, if you're not paying me, I'm not working.
Hmm.
And so those are some of the things we're taking a look at. Even though we may have to pay a little bit more here in grants, but we see an increase in our stipend because we don't have as many volunteers responding like we used to. So you can smoothing numbers around from our budget for volunteers where we used to pay a certain amount to where we're not paying that much. We can shift it over to hopefully fund full-time positions and keep the ones that we got, and looking at other opportunities through funding sources, through safer grants of that nature to help with what we have going now, currently have. And I would also like to thank the sheriff. The sheriff, he actually, as far as vehicles and helping us as for the fire department, you know, he helps us out to where, you know, $50,000, $60,000 for a vehicle for response. The sheriff has been gracious enough to bless us with vehicles to help us. So there again, there's another resource where we can take and shift funds from here to there to help with our mission. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we keep Twiggs County protected with our fire protection, rescue protection, and I'm sure that if we keep working together, and I know everybody when you mention tax increase, everybody cringes at that. Hopefully, nobody wants to see that, but to sleep a little bit better at night knowing that you have someone that if you're trapped in your home 2 o'clock in the morning, there's someone be there 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes to give you a better chance at life. I think knowing that, just that peace of mind, I tell everybody firefighters are like an insurance policy.
Mm.
You pay your insurance on your car. You can go 15, 20 years and not have an accident.
Mm-hmm.
But at one time that you do
Mm-hmm.
have that accident, it's great to know that you had a policy that would cover you.
Yes.
So to say that, hey, we're paying for something that we may never need, but if you ever do,
If you ever do.
if that cardiac arrest comes, 6 to 8 minutes, that's clinical death. And if you're paying for that peace of mind to know that someone's here with an AED to shock you back into a livable rhythm, I pay for that peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just that's how you have to take a look at it. And it's unfortunate. Most people don't think about things until they're affected by it.
mm-hmm.
But and that comes from just the information not being out there. But I'm glad that you're doing something like this, so this information can be out there to people that don't give it a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the smoke detectors that they take the batteries out of.
Right.
We push that, keep those batteries in there, keep them tested.
Mm-hmm.
We're your smoke detector. For that, we're giving you another chance that when you need us, we're here. So just think of us as that lifeline.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Now, taxes, like you said, it's a necessary part of living, especially, you live in a country. Taxes, they pay for, in general speaking, they pay for the health, safety, and security of the American people and our defense, our military. Uh, and so taxes play an important role to keep those things, front and center, to keep us safe and protected. And it's a shame when, well, let's go to some current events. What just happened out there in Texas, in Kerr County? Uh, the code red system was, we have a code red system here in Twiggs County that I signed up for, but that's a personal choice that you can do. I have a weather radio. I signed up for the code red system, and there's another system that I signed up for. And anytime there's a thunderstorm, I get the phone starts ringing, my weather radio goes off. I get text messages, emails, they leave voicemails and everything. And sometimes it's so aggravating, to be woke up at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But when I saw what happened out there in Texas, I'm telling you, Chief, I'll never complain about it again.
You're exactly right. And you mentioned that, and we're actually in the process of also completing a project that was started some time ago. And we're in the process of installing weather sirens throughout the county. It was a project that it got some traction there. For whatever reason, it stalled a little bit, but I was asked to get back on that, and we're working with having those sirens for that little bit of extra protection that when things happen, those sirens are strategically placed throughout the county. So when an event happens, such as a tornado, bad weather, any type of event, those sirens will be sounded. Mm-hmm. That's a little extra layer of protection to help you sleep better at night, or of course it may wake you up 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, but being woken up to get you to a safe area or a safe haven that you've chosen in your structure or your home, mm-hmm. that level of protection is, I think, is you can't put a price on that.
Yes. And, the news coming out of Texas is, that emergency siren system, it wasn't implemented because people had reservations about the cost. And so it looks like that's a general consensus concern, is that whenever somebody brings up something that's preventative or something that's going to give you advance warning, then, it's so rare that it happens, we don't want to pay the cost of something that may never happen.
Yeah. And cost is always going to be an issue, even with your larger states or your smaller. You probably could set Twiggs County inside of the state of Texas several places and not take up hardly any room.
Right.
But cost is always going to be an issue, and no matter. And again, if everybody would just look at it as that cost you pay for insurance, you may not be directly affected by it today, but at some time you may not never need it, but somebody that will.
Yeah. It will. Yeah. I want to ask you a question, and what your opinion on this is. Again, we're going back to what happened in Texas. And as that event was unfolding, as that, they had an unprecedented amount of rain in such a short period of time. They showed a time-lapse camera. I don't know, it looked like it could have been like a couple hours. You could see this video of the river. And the video had like across the river, there was like a store where you could see the lights on the building. That river rose in a couple hours where you couldn't see the light across the river. And what I want to ask you is, as the emergency management director, what was reported? And they actually have audio transcripts and computer transcript logs. So this is what happened. Emergency first responder personnel responded and was actually taking body cam footage or video. And they're talking to whoever the first person that answers the phone when you want to get that code red activated. And it was a female. She probably was just, like a dispatcher, so to speak. But you could hear her on the phone talking with a firefighter. I'm not sure who it was, a sheriff's deputy, whoever. They are telling this dispatcher that they are looking at a vehicle, and you can see it on camera. They are actually looking at a vehicle floating down river with people inside, and they want the code red activated. Later on, they are seeing people physically in the river being washed downriver, and they want the code red activated. But they are being told that a supervisor has to authorize that. And because of that, the code red didn't get activated. Not the first code red didn't get activated to, let's say, a couple of hours after those first responders requested it. How is the system in Twiggs County? How does it work?
That system has to be activated from a centralized location, and I'll go back. I'll kind of relate this to firefighting a little bit. Any unsafe act that's deemed unsafe, you don't have to be a supervisor, a person in charge, or carry any title to stop an unsafe act. So if someone deems something unsafe, we got a duty to act and a duty to make that call to activate that system. I'm not going to challenge the decision of anyone that saw something unsafe to say, hey, we need to act now. I would rather go ahead and make the decision.
Err on the side of caution.
Err on the side of caution, make the decision to act rather than not make it. And here we are, and we always should look at past events and lessons learned.
Yes.
And I think maybe 7-8 years ago, the same event happened in Texas where there was flooding.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough in itself as a person working in public safety to adhere to the call. Mm-hmm. And nothing against the young lady, maybe that the direction she was giving.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, lessons learned. Learning from past events so history don't have a chance of repeating itself. And even if maybe she was a baby at the time, but educating our people that work in those situations to what the possibilities are and letting them know that, hey, there's so many times people act direct. Well, I was only told to do this and this is how I do it. But there's some times that you have to use judgment. And I won't call it common sense because I won't say that, but you have to use that better judgment to know that, hey, I have a public safety professional calling me, telling me what he or she sees. I must act, duty to act. It's better to ask for forgiveness sometimes than ask for permission.
Right.
Sometimes it is. So, and I think in that case, that was one of those instances.
One of those cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it was unfortunate that so many young people have, lost their lives in that incident. But, generally speaking, it seems like between tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, fires, it just seems like you can't get through a month without some major catastrophic event happening, and we're just bombarded with it all the time. And I worry that sometimes we get desensitized, I guess. And I don't know. It just it's been happening so much and so often, and yet still, you would think a state the size of Texas that would implement a siren system. I'm sure some counties do, but this particular county where this last flooding event happened didn't. But good to know that, you know, I live in it may be a small county, it may be a rural county, but we do have systems in place where we can get advance warning about.
It's all about maintaining a state of readiness. And, even though we're small, but we're diligent and we're overly concerned about the well being of even those that pass through our county. We got a major interstate that passes through here, and things happen out there, and we're always, nobody can say and that we're not coming. We are here, and we want the citizens to know and the people that pass through our county that we have a department. We have, along with the sheriff's department, fire department, we have a public safety system in place to help, and we're growing and we're trying to maintain and make us. You don't have to have a class 1 rating to give class 1 service. And that's, maybe we're not class 1 because there's a lot of caveats that go with that as far as equipment, sizing, personnel, and we're a rural county. So to say that we would be a class 1, it's just so many things that goes with that to get us classified as class 1, but there's nothing to stop us from giving class 1 service, and that's what we aim to do, and I think that we've been doing a pretty good job at it.
Yes, I can concur with that, and I've seen it. I've experienced it, like I said, with what happened next door to me, and that was early on when we went to manned stations, and I've seen what, well, like you said, I got a lot of respect for you as the fire chief. I've had respect. You mentioned our sheriff, Darren Mitchum. I think he's one of the best sheriffs in Georgia.
Absolutely.
And why he hasn't been nominated for a sheriff of the year, maybe he has.
He has. Yes.
Okay. Why he hasn't won it is maybe because a reflection of, it's a smaller department, and maybe that's a little bit of a knock on him not getting it. But to know that we have, as far as public safety is concerned, that we've got an excellent sheriff and an excellent fire chief and EMA director it means so much to me, and I hope it means a lot to all of the citizens of Twiggs County. I want to turn now to what my podcast is. It's about differences in generations. As I stated before, I'm a baby boomer and you're a Gen Xer. And over your career, my son-in-law, he sort of mentored under you as the when you were in Bibb County, and he is now a lieutenant in the Bibb County Fire Department. And I've asked him, he's got about 20 plus years now. And I asked him, I've asked him, what did you see different about the firefighters when you came on compared to the firefighters that you are supervising now? And I guess what he was trying to tell me was, a little bit privileged attitude, a little bit too much of a gung-ho attitude, wanting to kind of throw safety and caution aside to kind of, he told me he responded to a fire somewhere and it was fully involved. There were no reports of anybody being inside, credible, reports. There was nobody inside. If there was anybody inside the building, by the time they got there, they weren't alive in any case. And still, his firefighters wanted to go in. They wanted to get smoke on their face shield. That's the way he put it. and a rush to uh, before they perfect the skill or practice the skill, they want to almost immediately want to jump on the truck and drive, and they want to. And some of the younger, let's say, sergeants, are acquiescing to those kind of unrealistic demands, and they end up, uh, you know, I kind of suspect my son-in-law didn't say this, but I kind of suspect we recently in Macon they had a pumper truck overturned. Looked like he was going too fast for the conditions, and overturned over there around the main post office. I don't know. I can't say that for sure, but uh, my son-in-law did say, if he was if he was under his command, given the experience that he knew he had, he wouldn't have been driving that truck. So, what do you say about the any firefighters that as you left the Macon Bibb County Fire Department, and to the ones you are supervising and are leading today? Uh, what what kind of caliber of young man are you getting?
To be great at anything, you first got to take the time to learn your craft. And before you can learn how to lead, you first got to learn how to follow. And in my career, I knew before I became a good teacher, I had to be a good student. And I took the time to learn from those that came before me. I, even though I knew I could drive the truck, I still need to be efficient at operating the truck. Anybody can get in and drive in a straight line.
Mm-hmm.
But when those unforeseen circumstances, that having good peripherals, keeping your head on a swivel about those things that may come and disrupt your straight line. How do you operate when those things happen? And for me, when I first started, the department was older. You had a lot of older guys
Yes.
that came before me. And
You're seeing that in just about any industry.
yeah, so even though I was driving, I had the time to sit back and watch and learn from situations by watching others.
Mm-hmm.
And in the workforce today, not just the fire department, anywhere, you know, there's such a high demand for filling the seats that they're getting there early. I think way before their time, a lot of cases. That they're there. Yeah, I can trust you to drive it in a straight line, but when you're going to that structure fire call and you hear that first dude screaming for water, saying that we're out of water and I got someone inside, how does that affect your mental? What does that do to you? Do you forget about this intersection coming up? And just because that light's red and you've got your red lights flowing, that doesn't necessarily give you the go ahead. You still got to pay attention to what's there. Did we give that young driver enough time to develop that? And I think that's what's the contributing factor to a lot of mistakes that are being made.
Right.
We're not taking the time to develop and grow.
Right.
Sometimes you have to do more with less
Hmm.
to avoid certain circumstances.
Yeah.
I would rather operate more efficient with 10 than to have 100 that's going to cost me 100,000 or maybe a million, because of they haven't took time to learn develop the craft.
Develop the craft. Yep. Yeah. So you sound a lot like my son-in-law. I can see how your mentorship crossed over into his thinking, and because he basically said almost exactly the same thing, almost word for word. And so, you know, he had a good teacher. He said that from the very beginning when he was, trying to get promotion to sergeant and eventually got promoted to lieutenant. He always credited you for his knowledge and being there to answer questions and guide him on that journey in the fire service. So, Chief Hart, I guess we'll wrap this up, and I want to again say thank you
You're welcome.
for taking the time out, and I'm glad that you didn't get any calls to interrupt this session, and that I hope that we have an occasion to talk again. I know we'll probably see each other at the next commission meeting, and I know there's some issues that you're going to be trying to solve as far as personnel issues, and I hope everything goes well and to your benefit, and anything that goes well to your benefit is to the benefit of the citizens of Twiggs County.
Exactly.
So I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate the time, and thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Well, listeners, that concludes my initial episode of the Big Gap podcast, formerly known as Conversations Across the Grand Canyon. I don't know who my guest will be next time, but my goal is to stay within Twiggs County. I'm going to stay in and kind of work my way out. I've got a couple ideas of some Twiggs County residents and public officials who I hope would give me some time to come and talk to me about the issues affecting the citizens of Twiggs and the surrounding area. And so this is Big Al Perry, the Sonic Boomer, wishing you a good day, and see you next time. Thank you.